I thought for long periods of the game they were able to handle the ball better than we did. Given the standards that we've set over certainly the last 4 games, but we certainly dipped below that, and there were some guys that I'm sure will look at their performance and say definitely better than that on the ball for sure. But as you come into these final exchanges of the season, especially as pressurised and stressful as a game against the Galaxy is, given where they sit and what we need, I think you're always going to find games that, you know, you're not necessarily going to be at your best, but you've got to find a way to hopefully get the full 3 points out of, but certainly not get beat. Now, there were a number of things that went on today, you know, question marks over 3 penalties, you know, 2 for them and obviously the 1 for us. In the end, though, I think we'll find out in 3 games' time whether it was a point gained or 2 lost.
Do you feel on the review, obviously, I'm sure you haven't seen all the footage yet, but do you feel like Walker could have done something differently, or do you feel like his hand was already going down?
No, I think once you get to that situation, Drake, you know, they'd built some good pressure. We had, I thought, some very nice openings that we didn't make the most of. We have in the last 4 games, and, you know, that's how the ebb and flow of any fixture goes. We didn't make the most of our moments today, and therefore the game became very tight. You look back on the last 4 games, that would have been a consolation for them. Today, it makes all the difference. And as we work towards what we hope will be a post-season berth, it's very, very important that all of the finer details and important moments are executed in as professional a fashion as possible. He's unlucky. He comes to press the ball. The lad has a shot that today hits him on the arm. Another day it hits him in the chest, the stomach, maybe another part of his body. And that's how, you know, your luck can move one week and change the next.
Gary, they switched systems a little bit in the second half, went to 3 at the back, tried to get some width. What did you make of their ability to continually hold the ball and get chances in the second half? And was there anything you think you could have done to counter it?
Yeah, I mean, look, they built some. If you take the majority of the game, they managed the ball well. You know, Greg sets his teams up. You look back at his Toronto team, it's all about ball management and possession. But to be perfectly honest, their very best chance was the one-on-one save with Cabal in the first half. I honestly thought that, you know, they were little threat on goal whilst probably controlling the game with the ball. As the game wore on, they committed more players. They needed to get back in the game. They needed a goal somewhere. And he's thrown caution to the wind, taken a defender off and put forwards on. For me, given how the game unfolded for us and 1 or 2 of our own opportunities that were squandered, it was a case of trying to keep a clean sheet and getting through a tough game. And it was a tough game. It was always expected. Sadly, it wasn't to be. But, you know, you often see a team that's behind throwing on as many creative players as they possibly can. And I still felt we had the bodies on the field to try and, you know, maybe find that killer second goal. Not to be, though.
After Joe makes a save on a penalty in the first half when they're lining up in the 9th minute or whatever it was at stoppage time, what is your feeling like? Do you think that he's got it in him to save another one, and then obviously he did get a hand on it, just didn't do that?
Yeah, look, I think if you take 10 penalties with a professional player, you would expect that they're going to score 7 or 8 of them. 8? Is that the stat? Well, you know.
78%.
Well, there you go. So you would expect that. It was a fabulous save, the first one. It kept us in a very good position, and he played his part in trying to keep a clean sheet and see the game out. You know, unfortunately, in those final moments, seconds even, you know, really my emotions and thoughts had spun very much into how on earth has the referee contrived to give them 2 penalties at our stadium and ultimately 3 penalties all in all. You know, I'm not sure that all 3 of those, and I would even in some ways question our one, I'm not sure they were penalties. But, you know, that would be me just bleating.
Jonathan, go ahead.
Hey Gary, this is Jonathan Siegel from MLSoccer.com. Just wanted to ask you about, you guys are going to lose Walker now for a game. Your thoughts in that respect, and just kind of how your defense finds a path forward. I know there have been some games where you haven't been without him. I think the Vancouver match, if I'm not mistaken, a short while ago. But of course, a big situation you are going to have to tackle the coaching staff.
Yeah, look, he's a big loss. He's a terrific player, influence, character. There's no doubt. You know, we are a better team with him in the back line, of course. But I would certainly point to part of your statement or question there that we've gone away from home on other occasions and we've got very, very good results without him in that back line for different reasons. Someone like Jack Mayer can count himself incredibly unlucky that he's not in the starting 11 today. He was outstanding in Vancouver and as you know, as a big part of the Colorado win as well. So I don't have too many issues in trying to deal with what we look like, you know, how we shape up for the Austin game. Of course, you never want to miss somebody of the caliber of Walker for too long, though.
3 more questions. Tim, Drake, and Steve. Tim, go ahead.
Jerry, you guys have been scoring a ton lately. Obviously, that was not the case today. Kick from the spot, the only chance you guys had that I think you might have tested Bonds. But what was different today? Was it just, you know, a strong performance from the Galaxy? Was there a way that you could have gotten Hani more involved in the final third?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that we were unable to achieve today for one reason or another. You know, you have to give them some credit as well, of course, because of the way they defend and their reasonably high line. But in saying that, the first half in particular, some of our most encouraging positions came down the left-hand side with Jacob. He got in some really good spots beyond the fullback and couldn't quite find the right pass when in recent weeks we've taken advantage of that. There were 2 or 3 moments where, as I've already mentioned, as an example, Randall is played through, has got a clear sight of goal. And honestly, at that point, you know, I would question his choice. He's been incredibly effective for us. But in that moment, of course, you want to see him hit the target. And I just wasn't sure that trying to chip the goalkeeper from there was the right decision to make at that point. So you layer that in with the fact that we didn't manage the game well with the ball. I thought, were too erratic with the ball and therefore never really questioned them for prolonged periods and built any pressure, which of course, you know, could sometimes open up a very different avenue and maybe test the reliability of that back line. Nevertheless, I think for all of their pressure, there were few clear-cut chances, and maybe in the end, the draw was a fair result.
Yeah, Gary, you pretty much went early to the bench, taking CJ off. I think it was 58th minute, and then, of course, both wingers, I think, 13 minutes later. In terms of your best attackers, Shaq included, do you feel like that group that you swapped, do you feel like that they were at their best or even average today? How do you feel about in terms of creating the chances?
Look, I'm hugely disappointed that we haven't held on to a game that we looked like we were going to win up until, what, the 94th, 5th, 6th minute, and somehow, some way, you know, they've found a way to earn themselves a point when, I'm not saying that their play didn't deserve it, but at that point, it's all over. So I'm hugely frustrated, but I want to try and keep it in context. We've been terrific for the last 4 games. There have been some wonderful displays. Players have really shown their true colours and got after games that were hugely important as well. Some of the teams that we've beaten have put us in a very encouraging position. But I've said multiple times, the job's not done. We run into some excellent teams who have got every reason to want to battle away for a postseason berth, and this is one of them. They're an immensely talented side. They've added some terrific players, and you can see some of the guys coming off the bench. Certainly in an attacking sense, the options that Greg has are immense. In terms of what you're saying about some of our guys, there were reasons for the changes. Annabelle's hamstring tightened up. CJ was carrying a problem with his foot that I was actually uncertain whether he was going to start the game up until this morning. So those 2 guys, I felt, had done what they could do for the group, and it obviously bridged the gap for Teal, who's coming back from a prolonged absence. Dax was an easy changeover. We don't skip a beat, really. The changes out wide were really born out of the energy and the output that those guys had given the game. And it's never easy to see Jacob and Randall come off because they can produce something that's influential in the game. But I thought they had given so much for 70 minutes, both ways. They'd helped out their fullbacks and they'd done a terrific defensive job, limiting the Galaxy to few clear chances, as I've said. And they were also involved quite a lot going forward, both sides. Jacob more so in the first half. Randall came to life a little bit more in the second half. And I felt we needed some more energy out there just to keep that job and that standard high in those wide areas. Hence the changes.
Can you give us a Loba update? And then I want to ask about the card situation. 5 cards in the first half. Ref was pretty loose with them, even the second half. I think we ended up with 9. What do you tell your team at halftime about a situation like that? Do you become more careful, or are you playing the ref at that point?
Well, let me take the Aki situation first of all. It's a simple one. He's been out for a reasonable period. He had what we could class as maybe his first wasn't even a full week of training, but substantial training. So we'll just keep working through and looking at his fitness as we go into next week. But he's certainly getting closer to being in consideration for the group. As far as the officials go, I think every week we'll all look out there, and when I say all, every coach will look out there and say, I don't know how you've ended up giving that free kick, that card, making that choice. And I think that's, part and parcel of the emotion of the game. It's tough to put yourself in their position when the game's moving at such pace. I don't know truly. There was a free kick given in those dying moments where Koulibaly came charging through the back of Alex and left his feet, and in another situation could have broken him in half. And he gave the free kick the other way. Maybe somebody else will tell me, well, the reason for that was. I would need an explanation, because the defender is at fault there with the choice and the challenge he's making. So it's only an example of why, how. You get 9 cards out of a game today, if that's right, and another day when, you see some difficult challenges, maybe one, maybe none. I don't know. The consistency sometimes isn't there. And obviously, without going into it too deeply, otherwise I'll get fined. You know, it's not an easy job, I understand that, but I think we all would like a little bit more consistency with some of the decisions that are made. As far as the players are concerned, we just got to go about our business. You know, we have to compete likewise they do and every other team does. We've got 4 games, 3 now of the season left, and it's going to take everything, you know, within our power, physically and otherwise, to be above the line.